Hollywood has long celebrated Teyana Taylor as a multi-talented force, an artist capable of moving seamlessly between music, film, and visual storytelling. Over the years, she has collected accolades, earned major opportunities, and built a public image that feels both deliberate and carefully managed. She received a Golden Globe, stepped into high-profile acting roles, and even generated early Oscar buzz. On the surface, her trajectory reflects success in its most recognizable form: visibility, validation, and access. But beneath that polished exterior lies a more complicated story, one that speaks less about recognition and more about control. Despite everything Hollywood has given her, one thing has remained consistently out of reach: full creative autonomy. And according to Katt Williams, that absence is not accidental. In fact, he suggests it is the very reason the industry views her with caution. The shift happened the moment Teyana stepped behind the camera. Up until that point, she had existed within a familiar framework. She was a performer, someone whose talent could be showcased, shaped, and ultimately directed by others. But once she began making her own creative decisions, she moved into a different category entirely. She was no longer just participating in stories, she was controlling them. And in an industry built on hierarchy and gatekeeping, that transition changes everything. According to Katt Williams, the concern is not about her public behavior or reputation. It is about what she has seen, what she understands, and what she could choose to reveal. In his recent Netflix commentary, his message is clear. The industry does not attempt to sideline people simply because they are difficult. It does so when they become unpredictable and, more importantly, when they become informed. There is a significant difference between being labeled difficult and being considered dangerous. One suggests inconvenience. The other suggests the potential to disrupt systems that depend on silence. To understand why Teyana Taylor occupies such a unique position, it helps to look at how her career developed. Hollywood tends to favor specialization. Artists are encouraged, often required, to stay within defined roles. You are either a singer or an actor, either in front of the camera or behind it. This structure is not accidental. It creates dependency. It ensures that talent must continually return to industry gatekeepers for validation, funding, and opportunity. Teyana never followed that script. As a teenager growing up in Harlem, she was discovered by Pharrell Williams, which placed her in proximity to elite creative networks at an unusually early stage. She choreographed for Beyoncé before most of her peers had even settled on a career path, signaling not just talent but access. That access deepened when she signed with Kanye West during a period when his creative influence extended far beyond music. His label functioned as a cultural hub, bridging sound, fashion, visual art, and branding into a unified ecosystem. Being part of that environment meant more than releasing songs. It meant witnessing how influence is constructed and maintained. Teyana was not simply present, she was attentive. She observed how deals were negotiated, how careers were elevated, and how others were quietly sidelined. While she was publicly positioned as a performer, she was privately accumulating knowledge. She was learning the language of the industry: contracts, leverage, timing, and power. That knowledge would later define her evolution. Before the awards and recognition, there was a turning point that revealed the limitations of her position. She publicly announced her retirement from music, a decision that surprised fans and was quickly simplified by media narratives. Headlines framed it as creative differences, a vague explanation that often masks deeper conflicts. In reality, the situation appeared far more restrictive. Teyana had repeatedly requested to be released from Def Jam recordings, reportedly multiple times. Each request was denied. What appeared on the surface as a personal choice was, in practice, a standoff between an artist seeking freedom and a system unwilling to relinquish control. Katt Williams has pointed to this moment as an early indicator of how the industry operates. Her retirement was not simply a withdrawal. It was a forced pause, shaped by contractual limitations and institutional resistance. When she was eventually released, the delay had already affected her momentum. In entertainment, timing is critical, and interruptions can alter the trajectory of even the most promising careers. But instead of fading, she adapted. She shifted her focus toward film and visual storytelling, spaces where she could exert greater creative influence. This transition marked a fundamental change in her role. She was no longer dependent on being selected, she was creating. By 2024, conversations about industry control had become more visible, in part due to figures like Katt Williams openly discussing systemic patterns. Within that broader dialogue, Teyana's experiences began to resonate differently. She was not speaking as an outsider or a critic. She was someone who had operated within the system and understood its mechanics. Importantly, Hollywood had not suddenly turned against her. The tension had been present for years. What changed was her position within the structure. The distinction between performer and director is central to this shift. Performers operate within boundaries. Their work, image, and public narratives are shaped by multiple layers of oversight. Directors, however, occupy a different space. They determine perspective. They decide what is included, what is excluded, and how meaning is constructed. That level of control introduces a form of independence that the traditional system is not designed to support. Teyana Taylor's directorial debut, Get Light, represents the clearest example of this transformation. With Paramount Pictures attached, the project carries both institutional backing and personal significance. It draws from her cultural background and presents a perspective that has historically been underrepresented at that scale. On paper, this should be a moment of celebration, a breakthrough that reflects both artistic growth and industry progress. Yet the response has been unusually quiet. The film's release timeline has slowed, and promotional efforts have diminished. While delays are common in film production, the context surrounding this project has led to increased scrutiny. Around the same time, her relationship with Aaron Pierre reportedly ended, with public explanations pointing to scheduling conflicts. Individually, these developments are not unusual. Collectively, they form a sequence that has prompted speculation. Hollywood has a long-documented pattern of managing individuals who begin to operate outside established boundaries, particularly Black women who gain influence in ways that are difficult to control. The process often begins with narrative shifts. Words like difficult, emotional, or uncooperative emerge, often without clear attribution. Over time, repetition transforms suggestion into accepted perception. This pattern has affected figures such as Monique and Taraji P. Henson, each in different contexts but through a similar mechanism: redirect attention away from systemic issues and toward individual behavior. In Teyana's case, the implications may extend further. According to Katt Williams, she is not merely advocating for fair treatment. The suggestion is that she possesses detailed insight into how the industry functions, how deals are structured, how profits are distributed, and what artists are required to concede in order to participate. If accurate, this reframes the situation entirely. It is no longer about managing a personality. It becomes about containing knowledge. And knowledge in this context carries risk. Filmmaking has historically provided a subtle avenue for expressing truths that cannot be stated directly. Through symbolism, narrative framing, and visual language, directors can communicate layered meanings. This approach has been especially significant in Black cinema, where direct confrontation with power structures has often carried consequences. A director with both creative control and insider understanding represents a unique combination. Get Light remains unreleased, its timeline uncertain. Meanwhile, Katt Williams continues to speak openly, and audiences continue to engage with the broader conversation. The absence of clear communication from the industry has only intensified interest. Silence, in this case, becomes its own form of messaging. The central question is not whether Teyana Taylor has knowledge of the system. Given her career path, it is reasonable to assume that she does. The more pressing question is whether the industry is prepared for how she might choose to use it. Based on patterns that have unfolded over more than a decade, the answer appears complicated. Systems built on control rarely acknowledge vulnerability. To do so would require transparency, something that runs counter to how those systems maintain power. Teyana Taylor's story, then, is not simply about success or recognition. It is about transformation. It is about moving from participation to authorship, from visibility to agency. She has seen how narratives are constructed, how influence is maintained, and how individuals are positioned within larger frameworks. Now, as she continues her work behind the camera, she occupies a role that allows her to reshape those narratives. She is no longer just part of the story. She is the one telling it. And that shift from subject to storyteller may be the most disruptive move of all.